To Cape Town, Busisiwe Mkhwebane's 50th birthday party, her intellectual prowess and the alleged protection of politicians in the Vrede Dairy Farm investigation dominated the Public Protector's impeachment inquiry in Parliament today. Sphelo Samuel, we've been hearing from him for the last few days, the head of the Public Protector's office in the Free State, has been facing cross-examination today, of course, by Dali Mpofu. Our reporter Lindsay Dentlinger has been tracking proceedings. She joins us now. Hello, Lindsay. So, talk to us about the Public Protector's 50th birthday party and how that became such a topic of debate today.
So, Sally, that flows from yesterday's testimony when Mr. Samuel alleged that the Public Protector had given them instructions to exclude politicians from their investigations into the Vrede Dairy Farm. Particularly, he named former Free State Premier Ace Magashule and Mkhwebane Impeachment, at the time the MEC for Agriculture. And Dali Mpofu raising this matter of the Public Protector's 50th birthday party. You will recall that caused some eyebrows to raise back in 2020 over the guest list at that party, most notably Mkhwebane Impeachment. And Mr. Samuel telling this inquiry today that really fed into those suspicions at the time, and what Mr. Dali Mpofu put to him, the suspicions of political motives on behalf of the Public Protector that some of her staff thought were behind her giving them that instruction. And he was saying that by Mr. Zwane attending that birthday party, it really gave fuel to that fire that she was trying to shield certain politicians from being implicated. And Mr. Mpofu then telling this inquiry that when Busisiwe Mkhwebane does testify, it will be her evidence that Mr. Zwane rocked up uninvited, Sally, and Mr. Mpofu telling the inquiry that what is one to do when somebody gate crashes your birthday party? You can't simply run away. Here's that exchange on that score.
Zwane came there as a partner to somebody who was invited. Would you accept that at least?
Yes, I would accept that, because that is what I know she has previously responded to media inquiries about.
After your
Yes.
affidavit, yes.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying now, post your affidavit, you accept that the... let me start by saying I accept that if she had invited him, then your point would have been higher. So I accept that.
Yes.
But do you equally accept, now that you know that she didn't invite him, that it's not an issue? It's not at least the issue that you thought it was, that she might have invited him?
As I say, the issue of if she had invited him, yes, it would have been worse. But even accepting that she did not invite him, but his mere presence there would be objectionable.
During his cross-examination, Dali Mpofu also tried to paint a picture that Samuel believed he was intellectually superior to the Public Protector. What was he getting at?
Well, he was really trying to get at that Mr. Samuel thought that he was better than the Public Protector, that these kinds of allegations that he's making against her all stem from the fact that he couldn't stomach her style of management. Mr. Samuel was telling the inquiry that think tanks, that senior managers used to get together and discuss reports and ways that in which investigations should be carried out, summarily stopped soon after Busisiwe Mkhwebane took office, and after she, in his view, was found wanting in these meetings. He maintained that she flip-flopped on views that many of the senior managers knew more about her than the law. He said it was evident that she didn't have a practical experience of implementing the law, and he quite openly told the inquiry that he thought in certain aspects he did know more about the law than Mrs. Mkhwebane. Mkhwebane, and that it was evident, and this is why, in his view, it was so embarrassing that there were all these adverse findings against some of their reports when they were taken on review, and he said it was diminishing the public's view of the public protector and the confidence that they had in that office, and Mr. Mpofu trying to get at the fact that, if you will, Mr. Samuel was rather a bit of a bitter man, because he even asked him whether he thought he was a chauvinist, and that he just couldn't handle Mr. Mkhwebane being in charge of the Public Protector's Office. Here's some of that exchange in questioning.
Simply because you have been granted leave to appeal, that means that the sentence is suspended. That's false. I was just saying that is false. We can't leave this committee with that impression. Do you understand that? You're still a convicted criminal, right?
I choose not to answer, not to respond to that.
No,
I don't consider myself to be a criminal.
No, I don't care what you consider. I'm putting to you that you are a convicted criminal, Mr. Samuel. Yes or no?
I deny that.
You deny? Well, then you're also lying, because you know that you are a convicted criminal.
All right, so Dali Mpofu, it's his job to try and discredit the witness under cross-examination. Has he made any progress in discrediting his testimony that the public protector basically barred the team from mentioning any politicians in the Vrede Dairy Farm report?
So firstly, apologies, Sally, that was the incorrect bite there. That, in fact, was Mr. Mpofu trying to discredit the witness as someone who has faced an assault charge against a complainant who came to his office, and also this issue we spoke about yesterday, the dismissal of Mr. Samuel and then his subsequently being reinstated. But to his question, Mr. Mpofu hasn't really gotten to the nub of why or just refuting, in fact, whether or not Mr. Mkhwebane did in fact give such an instruction as to exclude politicians from the investigations. In fact, Mr. Mpofu was making the point really when Mr. Samuel alleged that this investigation took extraordinarily long because in his view it was being hung up over this issue of whether or not politicians should be included in this report and whether they should be investigated. And Mr. Mpofu in fact saying that when Thuli Madonsela was in charge of this investigation, she in fact took longer to get it all together than Mr. Mkhwebane did. And Mr. Samuel putting it back to Mr. Mpofu that Mr. Mkhwebane had powers that he didn't have to advance this investigation, most notably to subpoena those politicians who would not comply or would not voluntarily assist in the investigation, which she chose not to use. And Mr. Mpofu saying that it was purely Mr. Samuel's view that this investigation was taking extraordinarily long because he couldn't provide to the committee an exact time frame for which he thought would be a more appropriate length of time to deal with this particular investigation. And Mr. Mpofu telling this inquiry as well that former DA leader Busisiwe Mkhwebane will in fact come and testify for the public protector, indicating that she gave an undertaking to the Free State legislature that she would conclude this Vrede Dairy report. Sally.
All right, thank you so much for that update. It's fascinating, I have to say. That's our reporter in Cape Town, Lindsay Dentlinger.